Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening, depending upon where you are. I'll start this discourse with a prayer. Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganatadusham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatītam Triguna-rahitam Satgurum Tam Namami Satgurum Tam Namami Satgurum Tam Namami. I bow down to Supreme Almighty God. I bow to saints and sages of all times, of all places, of all religions. I bow down to our beautiful lineage of Kriya masters, in particular to my Gurudev Paramahamsa Hariharanandaji and Guruji Paramahamsa Prakyanji. I bow to divinity within every one of you. Jai Guru, Jai Guru. Again, good morning or good afternoon, good evening. I chose this topic of mind and success, just because, success is something that we all seek, whether it is in our material aspects or, in the worldly aspects or in our spiritual life. But what is success? Is success getting a certain promotion in your job? Is success earning certain amount of money? Is success getting a wonderful partner for your life? What is success? Again, the definition of success varies from person to person. So I wanted to kind of give you a few little stories about success to begin with. So first story is about these, there's a set of frogs near a lake. This community of frogs, if you want to call it. These frogs had this annual event where everyone, whoever wanted to participate could race from a certain distance. And the part that was challenging about that was that they had to climb up a greasy pole to the top. The winner would be one that reached the top. So this competition was an annual event. Everybody, a lot of people participated, but it was something very hard because especially, because of that last part of climbing up that greasy pole, people, many of these frogs could not do it. But anyway, this year also it happened. And so the frogs assembled and, arranged this competition. And so a lot of young frogs came forward to compete. And there were frogs lined up on both sides of the path, to observe this event. And so this, frogs started, going through the, running across to reach the pole. As they were going along, there were comments along the way. There were other frogs saying, "Oh no, there's nobody who is going to win even this year because it's so hard to win this one, especially that greasy pole. Nobody has done that for a long time," and so on. The other frogs, the frogs who were participating in the competition, of course, heard this, and they basically were slowly getting discouraged by all these comments. But there was this one frog, one young frog that went all the way, didn't didn't bother with any of these various comments that were coming across, went all the way. And he had learned a certain technique to climb up this greasy pole from an older frog. And so what he did was to climb up the pole. Of course, it was difficult. He would climb up and slide down a little and so on, and then eventually made up to the top. So he was able to get to the top and of course, amaze all the people. Now, he didn't stop there. What he did was, he noticed that some of these other frogs were trying and were not succeeding. So what he did was to come down the pole, and he basically taught them, what they could do to reach the pole. And so he, in fact, helped each one of them, who were trying to get up to reach the top. So when it came to awards, of course, the frog organizers said, well, this is the frog that, did reach the top first. So he was going to get the award, but he refused. He said, well, it is not just me, it is all these other frogs who made it. So it needs to be collectively given to all of them. So what we learn from this one, from this particular fictitious story, is that number one, there was this frog had the dedication and also the firm conviction that he can do this, as well as he had that one pointed concentration to get to that, to that goal. Also, secondly, the person, this particular frog was able to not only get there, but was willing to share that knowledge and guide the others to get there. Just like our gurus who reached that highest state of realization, trying to give that guidance to all of us in the same manner. And so the aspects that this frog, embodied is what is called ekagra chitta. In other words, a concentrated mind. Not only did he, reach that goal, he was able to share it and guide everyone. This is the nature of a success that needs to be the case. In other words, a success should not be just for the individual. The success should be a collective aspect where it is shared with others as well. I'll give you a definition of success in a minute, but let's look at another example. I'm sure everyone has played merry-go-round, right, in your childhood or whenever. Typical merry-go-round is where you have 10 chairs, 10 boys or girls, and then there are 9 chairs, and there's music or perhaps a whistle or whatever, and the children are going round and round. And the moment the music stops or if there's a whistle, the children are expected to sit on a chair. And of course, there are only 9 chairs. So one of them will be left out. And so that person or that child is out of the game. And then they remove 1 chair and continue this process until there's a winner in the end. Now that's typically how it is played. I played that in India too. And the winner is given an award, right? Now, this is basically supports competition among the children. Sometimes it can be a pretty heavy competition, you know. Uh, but in any case, but if you look at the way this is played in Japan, it's very different. It's the same concept. 9 chairs, 10 children, or whatever the number of children is. So whatever the number of children, but one less chair to start with. And then they go around, same thing as music, but one big difference is that everyone should be able to sit. Even if one kid cannot sit, the whole team loses. So how is that possible, right? So that's done by basically having, a child who doesn't have a chair would be actually sitting on somebody's lap. So that's how that's played. So this process continues. If they succeed, they remove one chair and they continue to do this. So you can imagine it gets tighter, because the children have to now have to sit somewhere. Could be a side of the chair or on the arms of the chair or whatever it is. But they all have to sit. And even if one of them couldn't sit, then they lose. So as you can see, this is a very beautiful way of playing it in a very cooperative way of success rather than developing competition among children. In fact, it reminds me of our pilgrimage in 2011 that was organized by the Kriya Propaganda Mission in India, where we had 235 participants. So we were going to go from a certain place to trek to Mahatar Babaji's cave, where he initiated Lahari Baba. And it was a trek for a certain distance, and then there was a little bit of steep hill that we had to climb. Not too bad, but it could be harder for some people. Anyways, the organizers separated they asked the group, who all can go very fast. So they were like group number one. Some of the people raised their hand. And then there was group number two, who are, we can say, medium speed. And then there were people who really were slow, group number three. So they were thinking group number one can go ahead faster, reach there, and make the best use of their time. Now you see, Guruji intervened. He said, this is not a competition. The group number one people should help group number three people to reach there and achieve that same goal of reaching the Mahavatar Babaji's cave and meditate. As you can see, you see how our Guru has embodied that aspect of cooperation, of course. So that changed the whole concept. And, people were able to reach. In fact, I know of a mother who had difficulty, and she was literally carried by a young man all the way up. So that is the spirit of success. A spirit of success is where everyone wins. Now, so the ordinary definition of success encompasses four things. Number one, of course, there is the satisfaction for the individual soul. Whatever that particular success that person was seeking was achieved. Number two, it is achieved by truthful means. So there is no cheating, there's no treachery involved. Number three, it does not hurt any others. In fact, it takes into account the well-being of others as well. So that essentially eliminates anybody who achieve this by, any kind of hurting means. Number 4, this success is shared with others. Now you may say, well, how does this work in the world? Because typically, if you go into a corporate world, right, there's only one person who gets a promotion, not others. But that's how we have been doing. But what can this person do? This person, it's possible that some people are not happy about it because they're also looking for the same promotion, for example. But what this person can do is to make sure these other people get to that same promotion or even better, by guiding them, by helping them in whatever means that's possible. So it's possible to apply that principle even in the even in our worldly engagements as well. Now, what is the spiritual definition of success? The spiritual definition of success is when one is happy in a complete sense, in body, mind, and spirit. Mental happiness implies contentment. It means there is a balance of the spiritual achievement as well as materialistic achievement. So there is contentment, overall contentment. And there is the spiritual contentment in terms of being able to have that spiritual understanding and experience. And there is the contentment in the body in the sense that the person is able to make sure the body as a tool is being taken care of and used as the right tool to get to that particular goal of achieving success. Now, Paramahamsa Yoganji gives you a few tips in terms of how to get to that inner contentment and peace. He mentions, number 1, make your life very simple. So eat simple, dress simple, as well as live simple. In other words, make sure that your necessities are minimized and make sure that something, if you think is a necessity, is not really a necessity, it's a want. So distinguish between wants or desires and necessities. The second thing that he mentions is that the heaven is not outside, it is within. Even if you have nothing outside, nothing that you have, seemingly you have nothing outside, but you have the inner contentment, inner happiness, then you are actually a happy person. Now you have to be careful about this. There is a story about a Nobel Prize winner, economist, Dr. Myrdal. What he did, he had traveled many different countries. And in one of those places, he noticed this person being seemingly happy under a tree, sitting under a tree doing nothing. So he thought, this person may be somebody that he could interview and talk to. So he goes to that person and says, sir, why are you sitting under the tree? He said, what should I do? He said, why are you not working? He says, why should I work? Well, he says, you can get some money. He said, well, what do I do with the money? You can buy things, you can, get something to eat, etc. So why would I do that? He said, then you would be happy. He said, I'm already happy. So So the person, was intoxicated. Not that he was a spiritually advanced person or anything like that. He was just intoxicated and sitting there happily doing nothing. And this is a state of what is called mudha, dullness. So this is one of the states um, mentioned in Sage in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So there is the ekagra, the example of the frog that achieved it. And also the second aspect that the frog also demonstrated is the is niruddha state, where it was not only disciplined in terms of achieving the goal, it also was helping others. And here in this example of this person sitting under the tree, it is a state of what is called mudha state. So we have to be careful about that. We need to understand these different states of mind and not to get confused. So second thing that Yogacharya mentioned is to understand that the happiness is within. The third aspect he mentions is to protect yourself from anyone who are trying to hurt or affect that happiness. In other words, be careful about people who are trying to discourage you or do whatever, basically antagonize you to get to that state of unhappiness. Obviously, you want to minimize the contact with such people, minimize or avoid such people altogether. Then there's the fourth aspect that you want to not expect appreciation from others. Typically, when you expect appreciation from others, you may not get it. So the key point is to make sure that you perform your worldly duties to the best of your possibilities, but not expect, this any kind of return or any kind of appreciation necessarily. If that comes, wonderful. If not, that's fine. Talking about duties, there's one important aspect we have to understand as we work in the world. If one duty contradicts another, then that's not a duty. So let me give some examples. Suppose one wants to reach, let's say, a financial success or success in their career, and it's affecting their health, then it's not a duty that they should be doing. In other words, you're basically affecting your body, which is an important tool to achieve your goal or whatever the goal, even if it is not spiritual, you want to be healthy and living well. So if you're not able to do that, essentially you are violating that particular principle of duty towards the body. So the goal of achieving financial success at the cost of the health is not good. Here's a second example. Suppose one wants to meditate a lot, and they are ignoring, the family and other responsibilities that they have. That's again a contradiction there. So they seemingly are trying to get their inner peace and contentment, but that's not that's not helping that. The family is getting affected, even if they don't have a family, their own well-being can be affected because they're not taking care of the body and other aspects that for their livelihood. Then there's the third example, for example, if one is not meditating and wants to spend their time doing all other things, engrossed in the world, again, they are forgetting God. Essentially, that's again a violation of that duty. So they're basically not being balanced. Bottom line is inner contentment, inner happiness should be achieved by a balanced view of the responsibilities and balanced um, application of your time so that you can take care of all the different aspects, both spiritual aspects as well as your familial, as well as your work responsibilities. It should be a complete balanced life that one needs to live in order to get to that point. Um, so there are times that I have heard this, and you might have. There are people who say, I will work and do everything that I need to do, achieve what I need to do materially in the world, and I'll, seek God later, when I retire. Is that the approach that one should take? Well, Yoganji advises, the first thing is to seek God. The reason being, seeking God, you are basically developing that ekagra chitta, or concentrated mind. And that concentrated mind, and also that tuning with the divinity, gives you the ability to apply that to the world as well, to achieve whatever materialistic success that you're looking for. So one can, if you notice, take the example of Guruji. Look at the wonderful Guru Mandir that we have in Balagari Ashram. It's very expensive. It was very expensive to do that, but he was able to achieve because of his spiritual attainment. He was able to, guide us to get the necessary expenditure required to build that. So you see that the spiritual masters are able to succeed in their endeavors because of simply being in tune with God and being able to apply that attunement to the goal for helping others. And so, in general, when one is selfless and looking for helping others, that help will come from divinity as well. Now, having discussed this, I want to mention a couple of other states of mind. We already talked about 3 states: Muda, which is the dull mind. We talked about the Ekagra Chitta, or a mind that is well concentrated, and Niruddha, one that is disciplined, one that is devoid of any kind of deviations or attractions to the desires, inner desires. Then there are 2 other states, Kshipta and Vikshipta. In the Kshipta state, the mind is very confused, or I should say restless. It is basically being so restless that is not able to concentrate well. In the Vikshipta state, the person is agitated and not able to do any work because of that agitation. Now, there are techniques to avoid these, or at least get out of these particular states. If it's a Kshipta state, in other words, one person who is very restless, a technique is to do, let's say they want to meditate and they are not able to meditate because of the restlessness. What one could do is, to do a simple technique to control the mind. Remember, Guruji has always mentioned that the mind is a bad master, but a good slave. So what you do is to say, well, I'm going to just do just a bath. That's all. I'm I'm just going to do one bow, and that's all I'm going to do in terms of meditation. And so with that, convincing the mind, your mind, in that manner, you do the bow. And inherently that bow gives you a little bit more concentration, and you may be able to do other techniques. If you couldn't do it, that's okay. You started, the practice, at least the bow. So there's ways to control the mind and get out of this particular state of restlessness by doing a little in the direction of getting to that concentrated mind. On the other hand, let's say we have a vikshipta state, agitated mind. That requires a little bit more analysis. It is said that, there's a 90-10 rule. 10% of the things that happen to us are not under our control. But 90% of what happens after that depends upon our reaction to the 10% that happened. So if you're able to control that 90% is under our control. The 10% is not in our control. So depending upon what is happening, if you're able to control that 90%, of the actions that you take, then you're able to, direct yourself in a very positive way. So let me give an example. Let's say you're having a breakfast, and your daughter is sitting there eating breakfast as well. And, she does some movement, and basically your coffee cup spills over on your dress, and your business shirt is all messed up, with coffee. So what will you do? So the 10% is that the action of your daughter was not under your control. It happened. What would you do? Now, one thing that you could do is, of course, get very angry with the daughter and shout at her, and maybe even shout at your wife, say, why did you keep your coffee this close, or whatever. And then you go upstairs to change your dress, get a new shirt, and so on. And you come back and you find that the daughter is crying, and she missed her school bus. So you have to drop her. So you drive her to the school. In the process, you're late to work. And you may even have forgotten certain things that you had to take to work. So that's one scenario. So you have created a certain agitation, and then you come back in the evening. Obviously your daughter is not still very happy, not talking to you. Your wife is not very happy with you, and so on. Here is another situation where you could have done something different. The daughter spilled the coffee, same scenario. But what you did was you say, you tell the daughter, be careful next time, be careful so that you don't do whatever she did, that action. And you go upstairs, change your dress, come back. Daughter has finished her breakfast, and she's ready, and she's getting into the school bus. She's didn't miss the bus, and she smiles at you, waves at you, bye, and then you go to work. Wife is happy, daughter is happy, and you get to work at the right time. So this is the 90-10 rule. So a vikshipta mind, which is agitated, needs to analyze if there are certain assumptions that were made or certain expectations that were made that were not congruent with, with what was expected to happen. So in other words, you need to really analyze the situation and take the appropriate actions. So bottom line, it's possible to achieve success by our concentrated mind in getting to a state of nirvana as we practice, keeping God as the primary goal. When you are not working, especially, thinking about God and thinking about that goal, but applying that concentration to other aspects and making your life fully balanced so that what you achieve as success is not one-sided success. It is a truly a complete success, not only for yourself, for others around you, with giving that inner peace and contentment in body, mind, and spirit, and being able to apply the simple rules of life to tackle the different states of mind when we do get into certain restlessness or dullness or agitated states of mind. So let's try to do that. Let's try to focus on those aspects and achieve that. Thank you. Let's do a simple meditation. This is a general meditation, not Kriya meditation. Please sit straight. Concentrating inside your head, thinking about whatever aspect of God means to you. Observing each breath. Observe each inhalation, each exhalation. They're going on naturally, but just observing. Keeping the concentration inside your head, observing the breath. Take a slow, long, deep inhalation and slowly bow down. If you're sitting, just bow down wherever you're sitting comfortably. If you're sitting on the floor, bend as much as you can comfortably. Still continue to watch the breath. Breathing normally, concentrating inside your head. Thinking about God. Loving that aspect of God. Just completely emptying your mind of any thoughts. Single point attention on God. And on the breath. Again, take a slow, long, deep inhalation. Holding the breath, slowly sit up. Exhale. Normal breath. Still concentrating inside. Watching the breath. Let's try it again. Take a deep inhalation one more time. Holding the breath, slowly bow down comfortably. Exhale, concentrating within, observing the breath. There should be less thoughts, more concentration, more love for that divinity. And take a deep inhalation, holding the breath, slowly sit up. Exhale. Again, concentrating within, watching the breath with love. Now we'll take some deep inhalations, exhalations. Take a slow, long, deep inhalation. Inhale, peace. Exhale, discontent. Inhale, love. Exhale, dislike. Inhale, kindness. Exhale, selfishness. Inhale, humility. Exhale, arrogance. Inhale, friendship. Exhale, enemy. Inhale, concentration. Exhale, restlessness. Inhale, love. Exhale, dislike. Normal. Concentrate deeply within. Single pointed attention inside your head on the aspect of God that you love. Do not encourage, entertain any other thoughts. Going deep within. try. Slowly bring your attention back, enjoying the peace, calmness within. Continue to maintain this peace and calmness as you go about doing your other things. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let the blessings of God and Gurus, their love, their protection, and their guidance and grace be on all of us. I brought on to the divinity within you. Jai Guru. Jai Guru. Thank you.